Hi guys! So in this video, some of you guys were asking me about my diagnosis story. I guess I'll start with the symptoms that popped up. When I was about 19, 20, I started gaining weight really rapidly. Blew out my knees and my back, and my joints were killing me because it was just so much weight, way too fast. And I was eating really well, really clean, and working out like 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So there was no rhyme or reason for it, which was insanely frustrating. Everything made me tired. Like going to the grocery store exhausted me. Going to lunch with a friend. Like I had to come home and I was done for the day. It was like I had run a marathon or something. I was exhausted. Going to the gym, like I was wiped out. Like it was basically all I could do that day. You know what I mean? And then I also lost my eyesight. And what I say by that is like not like it completely went black, but like it blurred out. So it's like if you were this close to me, I wouldn't be able to make out your facial features. And if you were far away, forget it. Like you were a blur to me, which was really scary for me because I've had 20/20 vision my whole life. So to just have that go so quickly was really, really frightening. But yeah, so originally because of the weight gain, I thought that it had to do with my thyroid. So I went to my primary care physician and we got blood work done and my cortisol levels were like through the roof. Which makes sense now because my diabetes is really stress sensitive. They wanted me to get a blood glucose meter because diabetes was brought up, and I did. And one of the home ones, they usually read up to like 500, and when it's higher than that, it just says high, HI. My mom and I would joke, because humor is how we deal with things, that it was such a friendly meter because it never told me a number at first. It just always said high. So I was dealing with some pretty high levels at first. So we knew that it was diabetes, and I started going to an endocrinologist. But then that was a new challenge because I displayed both symptoms of type 1 and type 2.
Okay, let me slow my own roll for a bit. Let's go over some common symptoms of type 1 and type 2, just for those who don't know, or maybe want an easier way to remember. In nursing school, they teach us the 3 Ps, which is polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia. But that is way too complicated for the average person, and most of you are probably not in nursing school. So let me simplify it with the 4 Ps, which is that you pee a lot, like you're just constantly going to the bathroom. You're parched, so you're super thirsty, you cannot get enough liquids, you're just constantly like dry mouth, constantly needing something to drink. You're pretty hungry, you're always hungry, you need to eat all the time, and you've got peculiar weight loss. You're not trying to lose weight, but just weight keeps falling off, you can't keep it on. That's usually type 1. Now let's go over common type 2 symptoms. So you've got your 4 Ps with type 2 as well. So you're peeing a lot, you're parched, you're pretty hungry, and you've got peculiar weight loss. But with type 2, you've got something that I call the 4 Ps plus, which means you have a bonus, which is how I remember that the other 2 start with a B. So with type 2, you've got blurry vision, which I have, which means that you lose kind of all sharpness in your vision. You're not completely blind, but making out detail is really hard. And then you've also got burning, tingling, and tickling of the skin, which that will usually happen in your fingers, your toes, your hands, or your feet. So it'll be in the extremities of your body. The best way I can think to describe this is that your limbs fell asleep times 10 plus phantom limb syndrome. It's really weird and pretty uncomfortable. And usually that is more indicative of type 2 diabetes. But if you're having any of these symptoms, go see your doctor and they will have tests that will be able to differentiate between the 2.
So I went through 3 endocrinologists. The first one treated me like I was a type 2 and only gave me type 2 drugs, which type 2 is a medical.
Pause it up once again. Sorry if I'm making you guys feel like you're in school. I hope not, but it's crazy how much people need to be educated about this. I mean, I didn't know anything, honestly, until I was diagnosed. Type 2 in a nutshell. It's a metabolic disorder, which basically means that your body has a problem turning food into fuel. Now, there are 2 factors involved with type 2 diabetes. One of them is that they believe that some people have genes that could code for type 2 diabetes, but they're like a light switch. They're turned off until lifestyle factors turn them on. The other factor is something called alpha cells and beta cells and their relationship. Now, alpha cells secrete glucagon, which increase blood sugar by using fat for energy. Now, beta cells secrete insulin, which insulin decreases or regulates blood sugar to keep it from getting too high or too low, and they use carbs for energy or store that energy for later use. Now, alpha and beta cells are like this beautiful couple that check and balance each other, and they truly love each other. But as with any couple, you need your space too. You can't spend all of your time together. And this particular couple, sometimes in certain people, will be spending a little bit too much time together. These two factors are left unaffected if you eat nutritious foods in moderation and keep your weight in a healthy range and stay physically active. However, if you eat foods in excess that are highly caloric or have a high carb content, especially if you're obese or overweight, if you are inactive or don't exercise very often, that can affect our two factors. That gene light switch, boom, it gets turned on. Is the alpha and beta cells have been exhausted due to overuse, due to excess weight, excess food, and not enough exercise. The alpha and beta cells have been forced to be together so often to process this excess energy that hasn't been used in an outside way that now they can't even stand to be around each other, and the body can't process food for energy correctly.
That wasn't working because I had type 1 symptoms too. So that wasn't a thing. And I would ask that of her and bring that up to her. And she'd be like, well, you just have to take your insulin. And I was like, yes, I am. And it just seemed to go in one ear and out the other. So I went to my second endocrinologist. And that one was just like, well, stop snacking. And I'm like, I'm not snacking. Like, literally, here's a food diary of everything that I'm eating. Like, the snacking that I would do would be like 10 almonds. Like, it was ridiculous. And then my third endocrinologist, that one takes the cake, no pun intended, because he told me that I needed to quit acting and move back to Texas because I just couldn't handle the stress of living on my own and pursuing such a hard business. And that was the point that I just was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. That was just this turning point for me where I wanted to take the power back from feeling like I had been handed a shitty hand of cards, so to speak. So then I finally found, thanks to my mother, God bless her, found the endocrinologist that I have now, and I love her. She's fantastic. I'm going to go see her once I stop yapping my mouth. And she immediately said, you're type 1.5, or a type 3, as some endocrinologists call it, and some endocrinologists don't acknowledge it at all, which is great. But basically what that means is that, so like I said, type 1 is...
Information breakdown. Type 1 in a nutshell. So it's an autoimmune disorder, which means that the immune system is attacking what it believes to be a foreign object, but what it doesn't actually recognize is the fact that it's part of its own body. And in type 1 cases, it's the beta cells. You remember those? Those beta cells that were responsible for making insulin, which regulate or lower blood sugar? Yeah, those. Your immune system in type 1s are destroying those cells through one of 4 antibodies. And so type 1s can't produce their own insulin because those cells either don't exist anymore or they're slowly being destroyed. And so they'll require a lifelong supplementation of insulin through a pump or through pens. They're coming out with new methods of supplying insulin every single day. They're even talking about an artificial pancreas. It's crazy.
There are 4 groups of antibodies that attack the beta cells, and I have all 4. But they've just been attacking them at a very slow rate. So that's why I was diagnosed so late, and that's why I display symptoms of both type 1 and type 2. It's more complicated than that, but that's the easiest way that I can put it without putting everyone to sleep. So now, through a bunch of trial and tribulations of cocktail drug combinations, here I am today. I'm still dealing with the highs and lows, but it's a daily thing. And now, today, I have to go to my endocrinologist. So I am currently heading to my endocrinologist. My blood sugars have been all over the place. For some of you that have seen on Instagram,
that it has been, as I've called it, the roller coaster from hell. This is just my normal endocrinologist appointment. I usually go every 3 months. And for people that don't know, an endocrinologist has to do with your endocrine system. Slow down. What is the endocrine system again? All right. The endocrine system is a system in your body that is made up of a bunch of glands. So like your thyroid gland, your pineal gland, blah, 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 glands. So these glands make something called hormones. And I know you've all heard of hormones. It's that lovely chemical that makes us into assholes when we're teenagers. Fun. So hormones are regulating chemicals. So they basically regulate different body processes. And then they go through what I imagine to be a series of pipes. And then they get sprinkled into the bloodstream. And once the hormones are in the bloodstream, they do things like regulate the metabolism, they regulate growth, they regulate sexual development, emotional life, they regulate sleep, they regulate everything. So when something's wrong with the endocrine system, it really affects a lot. I think the last time I went with my hemoglobin A1c, which is basically... A1c, what the heck is that? So an A1c test is one of the more accurate ways of assessing how much sugar is really in the blood, just free flowing. It's not being used, it's not being stored, it's just wreaking havoc on the cells and the tissues. It's usually tested every 3 months because that's the average lifespan of a red blood cell. If you're not diabetic, you want those levels to be between 4.8 and 5.7%. Usually they diagnose you with diabetes if it's over 6.5%. So once you've been diagnosed with diabetes, they will consistently check your A1c every 3 months to see if treatment is being effective. And so usually if you're diabetic already, they want you to be between 6.5 and 7%. So hopefully I have a good A1c, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not very optimistic because I have had really shitty blood sugars. So we'll see. I'm hoping in the real world, I'm hoping that it's just not higher than it was last time. If it could be lower, that would be awesome, but let's just hope it's not higher than last time. Yeah. Okay, so I am back from my endocrinologist and like ridiculous traffic because I went during rush hour. That's why I hate going over the hill. You Los Angelinos, hi Clem. Will understand that. My A1c is like 7.3, 7.4, which, like I said, I'm not surprised. It's been really up and down lately. I'm stressing about a lot of things, which is frustrating. I'm still, getting through it, and some days are better than others, and some days I'm like, yeah, I got this, and some days I'm like, screw this sucks, I hate it. Yeah, so if you know someone who's diabetic, or if you are diabetic type 1 or type 2, I feel ya, I'm with you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hearing my story, and I hope that it's helped in some way. And if you have any questions or want to share your diagnosis story, comment below. And or if you have some more diabetes kind of videos that you would like to see, comment below and let me know. Maybe I'll do another diabetes Q&A video.